YouTubes. Eric Andres, your Guitar Sage here, and today I've got a lesson called Deliberate Practice, okay? And I'm going to try not to be too long-winded about this, but I promise you that if you start thinking about your guitar practice, as you can see, my guitar is off to the side today. I'm not going to show you a particular lick. I want to talk to you about some philosophy, because a lot of times us guitar players can get stuck in a rut, just like all musicians, just like everybody in their particular career or hobby or whatever it is that they're doing. They can get stuck in a rut. So what I want to do is I want to show you exactly how you need to get out of that rut by using what I call deliberate practice. Okay, so let's talk about deliberate practice, and let's talk about what's not deliberate practice and how you might be able to yield from both, but how deliberate practice is actually going to get you there quicker, okay? Now, the first few years of my own playing of guitar, gosh, I say the first few years, possibly the first 2 decades of my playing guitar, I did not, for the most part, do deliberate practicing. What I did is, first let me define deliberate practice. Deliberate practice is basically when you sit down and you say, I'm going to accomplish X right now, whatever that is. Maybe it's a particular guitar solo, maybe it's a particular guitar lick, maybe it's memorizing X amount of chords or learning the cage system or something like that. Basically what you're doing is you're not just picking up the guitar and noodling the same old stuff that you know, it's like you know that, right? Let's move on from there. And what happens is when you do that over and over again, playing those tunes that you know, there's nothing wrong with playing your repertoire, you gotta do that. But if you do it too much, what happens is you get into a rut and you're like, I'm not really improving. Well, of course you're not improving. You're not challenging yourself. You're not doing anything new. In the beginning, when you just picked up the guitar, everything was new and everything was challenging. Just getting your finger to press down on the fret without it hurting was a challenge, okay? Or getting your hand to go from one chord to another was challenging. Now it's maybe not. So if you're in that rut, which we all get into, I get into them still. And this is what helps me out of it, is the deliberate practicing. So now that we know what deliberate practicing is, let me go back to my story here where in the beginning, what I would do is when I was a young lad, when I was 14, 15, 16 years old, what I would do is I had many hours to practice, especially during the summer, even during the school year, because I didn't do a lot of studying. I wasn't at the top of my class, let's say that, in high school. All right, so I had the guitar all the time. I brought it on the bus with me. I lived an hour away from school, so I had an hour of time driving to school, and an hour coming back on the bus. And then for lunch, I would go into a room, and a study room, and I would practice my guitar. So I'd have 3 hours of practicing right there on a school day. Free practice, right? And then when I'd go home, I would practice, and I would play till late and have to wake up early. So even during the school year, I had a lot of time. During the summer, I had more time. And so what I would do sometimes, practice from 8 to 16 hours a day, I would say, man, okay, well, what am I gonna do with this time? And I'm a very logical type person. I like to write things down and have the tasks and all that stuff, check to-do lists. And so I would say, okay, for the first 2 hours, I'm gonna warm up. For the next 2 hours, I'm gonna do scales, run new scales, and think of different ways I can play scales. The next 2 hours, I'm gonna do chord progressions and learn new jazz chords. And for the next 2 hours, I'm gonna do improvisation. Next 2 hours, I'm gonna do ear training and that sort of thing. And that was a great way to break up the monotony. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There's definitely some things to gain there. But now specifically talking about getting out of a rut, deliberate practice is going to help you do that. Now when I sit down, I don't have 8 to 16 hours. I've got a daughter in college, I have a newborn, I have a family, I've got bills, I've got videos to make for you, I've got books to write, I've got, guitars to tune and strings to change and lights to everything. I've got stuff, okay? And so as we grow up, we have more things to do. So I have to think about my practice differently now. So when I sit down, I think very deliberately and I say, what is it that I want to do today? What is it that I want to do this week? What do I want to do this year? What are my goals? And I have long-term goals and short-term goals set aside or in the back of my mind for what is it that I want to do. Maybe I have a certain series that I'm going to be doing for my Unstoppable guitar system. If you want to check that out, the link's in the description below. But maybe I'm going to do a new series for that. Maybe it would be on blues rhythms or something like that. Well, I'm going to study the heck out of blues rhythms. You know, I'm going to listen and I'm going to study from other teachers, and I'm going to really rack my brain for getting a great blues rhythm repertoire up so that I can teach on that and teach it well. And also drawing from what it is that I know. But I want to stretch those boundaries, so I'm going to have to be learning more. So I might say for the next month here, that's all I'm going to concentrate on. Or I might say, man, I really want to get my improvisational skills up to par. So how am I going to do that? So I'll sit down and I'll say, well, I'm going to try this for a month. The only thing I'm going to do is when I pick up the guitar, I'm going to work on improvisation. How am I going to do that? I'm going to play jam tracks. You know, there's a million of them here on YouTube. I'm going to play a jam track in a particular key, and I'm going to start noodling around on it. And just doing that alone is going to help your ear and get you better at improvisation. But the whole point is, I'm not sitting down and playing Smoke on the Water and Crazy Train every single time I pick up the guitar. I'm not doing the things that I already know. I'm doing new things. And when you think this way, when you think about this deliberate type of practicing, I promise you that you're going to see such great results. You're going to be emailing me saying, Eric, thank you, thank you, thank you, because it's just impossible. The brain is not designed to be thrown something new, to be given a new task and not be able to learn it. But if you're playing Smoke on the Water every time you pick up the guitar, you ain't gonna learn nothing new, okay? And you're definitely gonna get in a rut, because Smoke on the Water gets old. It's a great tune, but it's gonna get old, okay? So with all that being said, if you fall into a rut, there's nothing wrong with doing that structured practicing, like I said. At this point in my life, I haven't done that for a very long time, and I honestly don't see myself going back to it. Now, if I was Zakk Wylde and I had to play at a certain speed and do certain things like that, I might have to do that. But luckily, I don't have to do that, so I get to choose what I want to do. Sometimes I'll emphasize swing, sometimes blues, sometimes improvisation, so I can kind of do what I want to do there. Most people are like that. So if you're not Zakk Wylde, or you're not somebody who has, if you're a classical musician who's playing around the country, you have certain things that you have to do in order to keep your execution of those particular riffs and those particular pieces right on target, okay, or they're not going to call you for the gigs anymore. So if you're not those people, you can do what I'm saying here. You can do this deliberate practice, and you're going to see a lot more progress, and you're going to get out of that rut. All right? I'm Eric Andreas, your Guitar Sage. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, please hit thumbs up and subscribe. Somewhere around here, there's buttons and stuff like that. You guys know what to do. If you go to yourguitarsage.com, I give these books away every single year, usually several times a year, off of Amazon. So please do that, and you'll get a free ebook if you join my newsletter. And if you click on the link below, the Unstoppable Guitar System, you can get in there for $1. My absolute master plan on how to play guitar that's step-by-step for beginners to advanced. Tons of great stuff in there, blues, swing, rock, beginners stuff, whole 9 yards. So check that out. As always, please spay and neuter your animals. Be kind to one another. We can change this world by being kind. It's huge. It's powerful. All right. Please let me know how I can help. Facebook, Twitter, and all that good stuff. See you.